We're going to go through a lot of sunscreens today. A lot. It's kind of ridiculous. Hey Rosy Buds, Shannon here. Today I want to go over with you a bunch of sunscreens that I love. I promised you this video after my last sunscreen video where I went over the 7 things I look for when I'm buying sunscreen. And I mentioned at the end of that video that I have a sunscreen wardrobe, which I do. I have tried a lot of sunscreens, mostly from the drugstore in the US. I have a lot of sunscreens to go over with you guys, so I think this is going to be broken up into 2 videos, a mineral and combination sunscreen video and a chemical sunscreen video. And if you're not sure the difference between mineral versus chemical filter sunscreens, please go back and watch that prior video. I go over in detail the differences and kind of my pros and cons of both. But I do want to point out that I am a pharmacist practicing here in the United States. That does not mean I am an expert in skincare. Sunscreen is an over-the-counter medication, so I'm coming at this as a review of my personal preferences and what I like to use, not necessarily as a clinician with an expertise in skincare. So I will be talking to you about these sunscreens and what I like about them, what I find I enjoy. I purchased all of these sunscreens myself. I have no financial stakes or claims in any of the companies I'm going to mention, and you'll see a wide variety of things that I've tried. I've tried quite a few sunscreens. It's a little ridiculous. So we're going to go over in this video all of the mineral-based sunscreens that I've tried, both strictly mineral and combination that have a little bit of mineral and a little bit of chemical sunscreens. So let's go over some of these products. I'm going to be going over 15 different sunscreens with you guys. So I want to do this quickly, and I came up with a little rating system to make it simple. I have 5 key factors I'm looking for with sunscreens. If you want to know why I prefer these things, go back and watch my prior video on sunscreens. A plus sign means this is a positive trait, a negative sign means it's not a positive trait, and a 0 just means I'm neutral on a topic. But I prefer something with an SPF between 30 and 50, and spoiler alert, all of these sunscreens fall into that range. I also am looking for a water-resistant formula, so I'm looking for something durable. I also prefer something that is fragrance-free. So the plus sign next to this means that it's fragrance-free. How a sunscreen feels on my skin is important to my compliance with reapplying it. So I will comment on the finish and whether it's greasy or dry or matte, and whether or not it leaves a heavy white cast or a white film. And finally, I want to touch on the cost, another really important consideration. I estimated the price per ounce of each sunscreen looking at major online retailers this past month. These prices could change, and it doesn't account for sales or coupons, so keep your eyes peeled always for those. Neutrogena's Sheer Zinc Dry Touch Sunscreen has a good SPF, it's durable, it's water resistant, it's fragrance free, the price is decent, but my biggest gripe with this sunscreen is the finish. It is very thick. It feels kind of like you're applying white school glue to your skin. Not the most pleasant sensation. And it has a pretty heavy white cast, so I can't wear this on my face. I do wear it sometimes on my body when I don't care about how my skin looks, like going for a walk outside or going to the beach, but I don't plan on repurchasing this. Johnson & Johnson make both Neutrogena and Aveeno Baby, and they both have the same zinc percentage. The formulas are slightly different, but I actually prefer the Aveeno Baby over the Zinc Dry Touch. It feels a little more moisturizing, and we've used it on my daughter. It is pretty thick again, just like the Neutrogena. It does have a pretty decent white cast, but I prefer the feel of the Aveeno Baby over the Neutrogena. This is a bottle of Blue Lizard we used last year for my daughter. It's okay. It has a decent finish that's not super white casty, but honestly, it's pretty greasy. I tried it on myself a few times and I didn't care for it, but it's not bad. It blends in pretty good. It's water resistant, fragrance free, and a decent price. The Think Baby and Think Sport lines of sunscreens are pretty nice. They're high SPF, very durable. They are slightly more expensive than other sunscreens at more than $4 an ounce. I can't tell if they have a fragrance in them or not. There's none listed in the ingredients, but they do have a citrusy scent, so that concerns me a little. But I do like the finish of these sunscreens. They blend in pretty well, They're not too heavy, not too greasy. They play pretty nice under my makeup. They do leave some white cast on my complexion, but once I wear makeup over it, it's not too bad and it's not too noticeable on my body. Have you guys noticed that I enjoy using baby and kid sunscreens on myself? They're just a nice option for someone like myself with sensitive skin, plus we can use them on my daughter. For our daughter, I tend to lean towards mineral-based sunscreens, particularly for her face. When she's playing hard in the summer, and she can play hard, she's sweating, she's playing in the pool sometimes, and in those situations, the sunscreen can run in her eyes. So for those situations, I definitely feel the mineral-based sunscreens don't cause any irritation. The chemical sunscreens can sometimes cause stinging and burning. So we like these mineral-based sunscreens, particularly for her face. Now let's talk about a brand that checks off all of the boxes for both myself and my daughter, and that's Banana Boat's Kid and Baby Formula Sunscreens. These are an SPF 50, water resistant, fragrance free, super cheap, and the finish on these is pretty nice for a mineral based sunscreen. They blend in pretty well on our complexions, and I realize it doesn't work for everybody, but for us they blend in pretty well. I actually think it has a nice finish under my makeup, almost like a primer, and we really enjoy these. I stocked up on these last year and we still have quite a few to go through. I did purchase the new formulation, which is called Simply Protect, and the bottle is a little smaller, so it's a little more expensive, so that's a drag, but it feels and looks pretty similar to the old formula, so this looks pretty promising. After I tried it, I sent it off with my daughter to daycare for the summer, but it looks like a pretty promising substitution to last year's formula. So that looks good. I just really hope they continue to put out the pump. We really found that very convenient. I also tried out the new Kids Sport formula, which feels pretty similar to the old Kids formula. It's just maybe a little bit thicker, perhaps a little more durable for sweaty days outside, so that's probably what I'll reserve that for. A tinted sunscreen may be helpful for people that struggle to find a mineral formula that doesn't leave a white film on their skin. The shade ranges are limited, and I do wish they were more inclusive. Australian Gold sunscreen is nice. It's got a high SPF, it's durable, it's fragrance free. It costs a little over $4 per ounce, but I'm not super crazy about the finish. It was a little drying and a little matte for me. If I had oilier skin, maybe 10 years ago, I would have liked it, but right now I need something a little more moisturizing than this. Plus, it had kind of an orange undertone to it, so it didn't quite match my skin tone. Now, in contrast, this Coat sunscreen is very moisturizing. It has a very dewy finish, almost too dewy for me this time of year. I think I'm gonna like this in the winter time, but right now it's a little bit too moisturizing for me in the summer. It does clock in at $8 per ounce, which is kind of expensive for a sunscreen. Another drawback is that it is not water resistant. However, if I could get away with not wearing makeup over top because it provides some light coverage, it may be worth it. I'm not sure. And I will say this goes on like a dream. It goes on so smoothly, very light and moisturizing, very different from other mineral sunscreens that I've tried that are typically thicker and harder to apply. Combination sunscreens offer broad spectrum coverage and potentially less chance of a white cast because they combine both mineral and chemical filters. I treated myself to this Obagi matte formula sunscreen after hearing so many good reviews online and watching other YouTubers say that it had a really nice matte formula. What I didn't realize until after 2 days of application was that it contained a preservative that I'm sensitive to, methyl isothiazolinone. A lot of people can tolerate this preservative, but it irritates my skin, and this sunscreen did just that after about 2 days of wear. It's my own fault that I bought this without double checking the label, so it's unfortunate because this is pretty pricey. So it's hard for me to comment on the finish since I only wore this for about 2 days. It wasn't super matte or dewy, it was kind of somewhere in between, and it worked okay under my makeup, though I do feel it kind of settled in my fine lines a little. Even if I didn't have a preservative concern, I can't justify buying this sunscreen again just given the sheer cost of the product. Every now and then I will use a moisturizer sunscreen combination product. You have to apply enough, but it is nice to have one step. I've tried the CeraVe Facial Moisturizing Lotion AM with sunscreen. It's not my favorite. It is not water resistant. It has a bit of a white cast even though it's a combination product, and it pills under my makeup. I gave it to my husband to try. He doesn't wear makeup and he didn't like it either. It definitely settles in my fine lines, so it's not my favorite and I'm kind of struggling to finish this off. Coppertone Water Babies is a classic. It's a little greasy for my face, but it's been a staple body sunscreen for me for years. The mineral combination formula has a little bit of a white cast, but it's water resistant, cheap, and now from what I can read online, it's fragrance free. This older bottle had fragrance, but I'm happy to hear that the new versions are fragrance free. This past year, I finished a bottle of the popular Elta UV Clear. It's fragrance free, but it is not water resistant, but it is a pretty popular sunscreen. I can see why this is a cult classic. The finish on this is really light, really easy to apply. It has minimal white cast. The finish is slightly dewy. It's not matte, it's not greasy, it's kind of somewhere in between. So I can see why a lot of people really like to use this. My gripes are that it settles somewhat in my fine lines and it kind of pills under my makeup when I wear makeup over it. It's a little pricey for what you're getting. I'm just not sure I'm going to be repurchasing it because I have so many others that I like. If you found a sunscreen that you love that's a little pricey and you can work it into your budget, by all means continue to do so. I just personally want to look for something that's affordable because I want to be able to apply it liberally and not worry about the cost. A recent find that I'm loving instead is the Eucerin Daily Protection Face Lotion. This is a fragrance-free moisturizer, but it has a similar feel to the Elta UV Clear, and I'd actually consider it to be a decent dupe. It's more moisturizing, which I actually prefer, and it dries down to a nice semi-matte finish, and it plays wonderfully under my makeup. While it's not water resistant, I can forgive it because of the cost and the fact that it pulls double duty as a moisturizer. As you may have gathered from my reviews, the biggest challenge with mineral-based sunscreens is that overall finish and feel, and trying to find something that doesn't leave a heavy white film. I think that's why I tend to prefer chemical sunscreens for everyday use, and I reserve my water-resistant mineral formulas for days I plan to be outside a great deal, like at the beach. As you've heard, I've found some duds and some winners when it comes to mineral sunscreens. So I covered a lot of mineral-based sunscreens in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. My next video, I'll be covering a bunch of chemical sunscreens, all the ones I've tried and what I like and don't like about them. So stay tuned. And if you're interested in hearing more about sunscreens from me, or if you're interested in more creative lifestyle content, I do a lot of DIY projects on this channel and just other general lifestyle topics. So if that interests you, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself, stay creative, and I will see you soon, Rosy Buds.